I think it's really important to mention when you're in the buying process, keep in mind that if you're going to bring someone else to qualify with you, it's important to understand that that person also has to bring in good attributes. Welcome back to the Real Talk Miami. My name is Jasmine, and I'm here with Javier and Luis. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about something that has been highly requested by you guys. What are the different loan types available? But first, before I continue, how are you guys today?
We're good.
Good? Getting ready for Easter?
Yeah, getting ready for Easter. Great. A nice day at home with my wife, relaxing.
What are you going to do on Easter Day?
Well, we're going out. We're having a picnic.
Oh, nice.
But not today, of course, tomorrow.
But family picnic or?
No, only us.
Only us. And you, Louis?
Me, I want to eat. I'm ready for the festivities.
Louis is always ready to eat.
You know, but obviously we know why we celebrate Easter.
Yeah, we do.
So that's most important of all.
We're very blessed to be here today.
Amen.
So continuing with the topic of today, what are the 4 key loan types? We can get into FHA, or we are going to get into FHA, conventional, reverse mortgage, and a hot commodity now, DSCR loan. So I think that we should take it with loan number 1, FHA. And I think a lot of people in Miami or just in general want to know, what is an FHA loan?
Well, an FHA loan is a loan that came into effect in 1934, I believe it was. It was after the Great Depression.
Okay.
And the purpose of that loan was basically to encourage people to start to buy homes again during a period which was very bad, obviously, which was right after the Great Depression in 1929. And so what the FHA does is they insure loans for people who have, less than stable income and low credit scores. The minimum credit score that you need is a 580 to buy whatever an FHA loan.
That's the most popular loan for first-time buyers. Let's decode what FHA means. Fair Housing Act. Yeah. It comes from that age and from that date, and it's mostly used by first-time buyers.
But now you mentioned something really important, and I think a lot of people have this misconception, and they ask this question: is the FHA loan for first-time home buyers only? Keyword only. So is it?
No.
No, it isn't.
No. I could buy with an FHA loan. A lot of people could buy with an FHA. Anybody.
Everyone. You just can only have one FHA loan in use at the time.
At a moment in time, yep.
So if I'm correct, so to go deeper inside what FHA stands for, it stands for it's a loan that is secured by the government. It's not that correct me, Louis, if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
It's a secure loan by the government, so lenders feel more trusted, more relaxed when you're trying to apply for a loan.
Yeah.
So it's insuring your loan
exactly
in front of the lenders. That's why it's so attractive and like a little bit easier to qualify for.
Yeah, because that is true. Yeah, the FHA insures lenders against any potential losses when it comes to these type of loans. Obviously, the people have to maintain the property and amongst other things. But it is true what you say. You only need a 3.5% down payment to buy with an FHA loan,
which is very attractive.
Of course. And what about the credit score?
You need a 580 credit score, a 580 credit score minimum, and you could put more down. But anything less than 10%, you're going to have to pay mortgage insurance premium.
PMI, mortgage insurance.
It would fall if you don't pay it. If you put more than 10% down, after 11 years. The MIP is going to go away. Now, FHA loans, another key characteristic about FHA loans, I'm pretty sure you guys are aware of as well, it's not only for single-family homes. You could buy multi-family properties with it.
You beat me to my next question, which is a lot of people, not only do they ask whether or not FHA is only for first-time home buyers, but they ask, can I use an FHA loan to purchase a duplex?
Yep.
A duplex has 2 units.
Yeah.
And so, yes, because it qualifies for up to 4 units.
You can get up to 4 units.
But very important, you have to live in the unit.
Yeah,
correct.
It has to be your house.
Because you can't use an FHA loan for investment properties, second home, vacation homes. It has to be a primary residence. They make you sign a paper at closing. You have to occupy the property within 60 days. I don't know who's going to be monitoring you when all of that goes down, but you have to do all of that in order to qualify. And then after a year, well, you can do whatever you want.
Correct. You can rent it out. But I mean, you can live in one of the units, rent out the other unit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
you
but
have to be
most
there.
importantly, you have to live in one of the units, whether it's
So
a duplex, a triplex, or
Which
a fourplex.
nowadays I think they call that house hacking, right?
House
hacking
hacking.
or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
So it's clear you cannot use FHA for investment. You can only use for your primary residence.
Yeah.
So our viewers there maybe thinking about buying an investment property, you're not gonna qualify. You're not gonna be allowed to use an FHA loan to an investment property. Okay.
So this is very attractive, and I'm glad that you mentioned house hacking, because it's something that's very common now, and I think this ties very well with our previous episode. We were talking about the pros and cons of renting.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you can afford purchasing a home, this is definitely something to consider. You have somewhere to live, but then you're also getting passive income on the side.
No, you know what's something else I missed? With an FHA loan, let's assume you buy a property with an FHA loan. Let's say it's $600,000, and you put 3.5% down. Your down payment is $21,000. Which is really nothing. I mean, some places you can put a security deposit for that much for a rental, but that down payment could be a gift from a relative. And then in addition to that, if you want to buy with an FHA loan, you could get closing costs paid by the seller. I think up to 6%.
Up to 6%.
Yeah, it's up to 6%, right? Meaning, I've done this for some buyers where they essentially buy a home for free. Or they only put like $1,000 in total, and they buy their home because if seller paid their closing costs, they got a gift for the down payment. It's crazy.
You just gotta find a way. Where there's a will, there's a way.
You gotta find a way to negotiate it. Like we go back to the previous episodes, we were talking real estate. You can negotiate everything. Obviously between the terms, because, like for example, closing costs, you can only get up to 6%, but it's good money that you keep in your pocket.
Correct. So.
And there are places that are more likely to give you that much in closing costs. Miami is a little more harder to do it, but it's not impossible. But more up north, where a lot of new homes are being constructed, I'm talking about like Lehigh Acres, those areas over there. If you go on the MLS or you go on Zillow and you guys look online, you'll see that all of them are saying sellers paying closing costs up to $10,000, $15,000. It's a lot more likely to happen over there than in a market as competitive as Miami, but it's not impossible. I've seen it happen.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, going back to house hacking that we were talking. Remember those houses we visited in Homestead?
Mm-hmm.
The way they are building it like next-gen homes.
Correct.
Where you can bring a family member that needs to be rented because he cannot afford, or maybe you can even rent that because it's a small unit, but it's not like...
That's Lennar, right?
Like too small. Yeah, that's Lennar. Like too small for living, like we find it over there. Efficiency is too small for living. It's not like that. You have your living room, your bathroom, you have your bedroom, you have your closets, you have your laundry spaces, you have a space for a single or maybe even two persons right there, and that's gonna help you cover a great portion of your monthly mortgage. So I think it's something we're seeing right now here in Miami, but we are going to keep seeing it the way the home prices keep increasing every year.
I think it's really important to mention when you're in the buying process, keep in mind that if you're going to bring someone else to qualify with you, it's important to understand that that person also has to bring in good attributes. So they have to also have a good credit score. They have to have...
Lo bueno con lo malo.
Huh?
Lo bueno con lo malo.
Correct. So you can't expect to bring a family member, a friend that is going to actually hurt you instead of helping you. So just because you're adding someone doesn't mean that they're going to help you qualify. So I think that's really important to keep in mind.
I got a fresh one about that. I was talking to Luis before you got here. I have this client that got referred to me. She's a mom. She lives with her two daughters. They are renting right now, paying $3,500 every month in a house over there. They're planning to buy, but they have like debt issues. So what I talked to Luis and with Cobo, I was saying, what if we bring them to the qualification process, and Cobo said, no way we're gonna show up with her, because that's gonna hurt your application. That's gonna be a problem for them. No matter the other ladies have the income and the requirements for any type of loan, but you bring someone with in that case with debt, with bad credit, it's gonna hurt the application. You're not gonna qualify. It's not like to make a crowd to qualify. It's bringing someone that actually helps you to qualify.
Correct. So definitely keep in mind when you're in the application process, if you were to ever consider bringing in someone, you got to look at the full story. And so talking about the full story, let's continue on with the types of loans. We talked about FHA, which is a big commodity. Now let's go to conventional loans. So can anyone tell us what a conventional loan is for our viewers outside?
Yeah. Conventional loan, what comes to mind right away, you could think of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. They are two agencies that buy basically all loans that are originated in the primary market on the secondary market. And so, yeah, let's assume you get a loan with Chase or Banker's Choice or Bank of America, whoever does your home loan. That they're not going to keep your loan for 30 years. They're going to sell it to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And so when you hear conventional loan, just think about those two government agencies. And conventional loans differ in FHA loans in many different ways. One way that you could say they differ is in, for example, like we said, FHA can only be for primary residencies. Conventional loan you could use for investment property, you could use for a second home, you could use for your primary residence as well. It's a lot more, I guess you could say, flexible, but you do need a stronger financial profile in comparison to an FHA loan.
Javier, share with us, what are those strong financial credentials?
You're going to have to show up with a little bit more money to qualify for a conventional loan. You're going to need a high credit score. You can qualify up to with 620, but I strongly recommend don't show up to a conventional with at least 720 at least, because then there's going to take a bad look at that low credit score. That's the most the second most used for first-time buyers and investment properties is going to be always the conventional loan.
Yeah, so conventional is very lucrative, especially the fact that unlike the FHA program, which you could put a minimum of 3.5% down, with the conventional you can actually put as little as 3% down. Obviously, it all depends on your credentials and it depends on your current factors, but definitely very competitive in comparison to the FHA program.
Yeah, and if you're going to put a little down payment, I've seen cases where it's smarter to go FHA than it is conventional. Conventional is better suited for that person who could probably put the 20%, the full 20% down, to avoid paying the PMI, the private mortgage insurance. Because that alone, I mean, monthly is going to be $500.
Yeah.
Well, it depends. I mean, I'm not going to say a number, but it's a hefty price tag to have that insurance on there.
It's all going to fluctuate. And he says that 20% down because the PMI can be canceled once you get 20% equity. So that's something.
Well, if you buy right away with 20%, you won't even have it.
Correct. That's why I'm saying if you get to that 20% threshold, it's already eliminated.
So, like, for wrapping it up, what do we have left to know about conventional loans?
I think conventional loans is just dependent on the type of buyer. But if you can put a little bit more down payment, it's definitely a lucrative or an enticing option for that person that wants to invest.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely a program that's better for the person who has a stronger financial profile in comparison to the FHA. You're more likely to get better terms and amongst other things if you buy conventional versus FHA.
So we've talked about FHA, we've talked about conventional, we've talked a little bit about Freddie and Fannie. So definitely we've covered the most talked about loans. Now let's get into the reverse mortgage. Reverse mortgage is obviously not for everyone, or not obviously. Maybe perhaps you're out there and you're like, what is a reverse mortgage? Do I qualify for a reverse mortgage? Well, I think criteria number one, you have to be 62 years or older.
Of course. You need to have equity.
Correct. So let's talk a little bit about who qualifies for this program. Who is the ideal person for a reverse mortgage?
Well, you said it best. You have to be a senior. They consider senior 62 years of age and older. For people who are watching who are of that age, don't get offended. I don't think 62 is a senior, but for a reverse mortgage, that is the case. And like Javier says, you need equity in the property. You cannot use all the equity in your property if you want to get a reverse mortgage, only up to a certain extent. Let's say the property is $500,000, maybe up to 150, 200,000 of that. Yeah. You could use for a reverse mortgage. And the difference between a reverse mortgage and a regular mortgage, you're making payments to the lender, and a reverse mortgage, the lender's paying you. The lender pays you.
Hence, reverse. So I think perhaps you're out there and you're thinking to yourself, so I get to stay in my home?
You have to stay in your home.
The answer would be yes. So again, this is for someone who is at a certain financial point in their lives, and they need a little bit of income. And hence, that's why it's best, and you must be 62 years or older. Someone who's older.
Sorry that I cut you. That's the beauty of real estate. Imagine buying your house in your 30s, getting to your 60s, you already paid your house, and you can get a loan, you can get paid.
Yeah.
You can get money from your house you bought 30 years ago to do whatever you want. To get a business. To travel to wherever you want. That's one of the most beautiful parts of real estate.
Yeah, we can definitely bring back Alberto Cobo from Banker's Choice, because I know in his episode he mentioned that he worked a lot of reverse mortgages when the program had just come out. Again, this is definitely very popular with the older crowd for a bunch of different reasons.
You could get a lump sum amount. You could get monthly installments. You could get a line of credit, and the beauty of it all is that you do not have to pay it back. A reverse mortgage, you do not have to pay it back. The only time you do have to pay it back is if you sell your home.
You move.
You stop. Move means you stop living in the property for 12 months, more or less, or you die. That's when the loan becomes due, and if you have heirs, then obviously they become responsible. If you don't, then the property just goes to the bank.
I think for a better way to say it would be, this program is ideal for someone who is retired that is in need of cash flow. I think that is the best way to put it up.
Exactly, and they're gonna make you go through counseling. They're gonna make you do counseling, basically advising you as to what you're doing, because it's basically like, are you sure you want to do this? Because you've paid off your home, and obviously you're old now, so it's kind of risky. So they make you go through a counseling, the FHA, because this is a type of FHA product.
Yeah, so definitely they want to make sure that the person is aware of what they're getting themselves into.
Exactly.
However, you also have to be aware that just because the lender is paying you, that does not mean that they are paying for your taxes or your insurance.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, of course.
So beware. You still have to continue paying for property taxes and property insurance.
Yeah, and they're gonna qualify you to make sure that you can do that you could pay that minimum, your taxes and insurance.
Yep. So I think that's really important to mention. Honestly, it's a very interesting program.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
It's really interesting to get deeper in the. We definitely need Cobo back here to go maybe through some cases that he has worked. Or I don't know, Louis, if you work some and you have in memory, it will be very interesting to get in details. Because it's amazing. Cobo mentioned that the way people used that back in 2008 with the crisis and the way people saved their houses and saved their lifestyle, everything using this kind of loan.
Yep.
It's really interesting, all the advantages you get from owning real estate.
Absolutely.
So there you have it. That's loan number 3. And without further ado, we're going to get into the DSCR loan. So this is something that at least I have heard a lot about it recently. A lot of people are asking about it as well. What is a DSCR loan?
Debt service coverage ratio. It's the meaning of the DSCR. So this is going to be like a even higher profile for investors only. You're going to need to bring to the table at least from 20 to 30% is going to be ideal to get this. the qualification process is entirely different. Maybe you can go through that, Luis.
The qualification process. Oh yeah, for a DSCR loan, a 25% down single family, 30% condominium, and the beauty about the DSCR loan, it's only for investment properties, and you don't need any type of income verification. So all you need to show is that you have a good credit score. You need to show your bank statements as well to show that you have the money in your bank to make the necessary investment. And the way that the program works, if you want to qualify for it, you have to show that whatever property it is that you're buying can cover the monthly expenses. That's what the DSCR is.
That the rent can cover the mortgage. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That the rent what the market rent can cover the property expenses. So simply get the market rent divided by your property expenses. If the ratio is 1, you're good to go. If anything above that, I mean, that's an excellent investment. And if it's below, they're going to have to look at other variables as well to ensure that it is it's a risk that the lender is, sees worth taking, I guess you could say. But yeah, no W-2s like FHA conventional and all the other loan types. No 1099s, no tax returns, none of that. Just credit, cash, and yeah. The debt service coverage ratio needs to be 1.
I think the power is in the people's hands with this program.
Absolutely. And I did 2 last year. I did one for one of the agents in the office and another one for a client. And I mean, they both were able to rent the properties out. And it's a product that's being pushed a lot right now. Because this is perfect for those people who make a lot of money, but come taxes, they do a lot of deductions and things like that. So, maybe they made $200,000 in their business, and then, they ended up with $15,000. Realistically speaking, those people probably have that money in their bank account somewhere or something like that. And, they're cash heavy. So you could buy investment property, and after a year, similar to how FHA works, after a year, you're able to, I think, move into the property or refinance and just have it as your own property.
Yep.
And you never needed to verify your income or anything. That's amazing.
I think all of these programs, they all sound so amazing.
Yeah.
It just depends, again, where are you at in life? And what can you afford financially, and also which one do you qualify for?
One thing that's important, because I had this happen as well, with the DSCR loan, they make you sign a paper similar to FHA that you're not going to occupy the property. But in FHA, they make you sign that you're going to occupy within 60 days. But with DSCR, they want to ensure that you sign a paper that says you're not going to occupy the property. But in addition to that, some lenders go as far as to say you're not allowed to rent the property to a family member.
Oh, wow.
And the reason being is because if you rent a house to a family member, you're more likely to give them cheaper rent in comparison to the market.
Yep.
And so the lender sees that as a risk. And so I had a case fall through because the lady wanted to invest. She wanted to use the DSCR loan to invest in a property for a family member. And when the bank showed her that paper, she was like, I can't work with this.
Yeah.
It's too risky.
So, and also beware of mortgage lenders that say that there's no paper required. Because if they don't present it to you at the beginning, it will be presented to you at the end of the process.
Exactly.
So regardless, that paper needs to be signed. It is a protection for the lender and the bank themselves.
Yeah.
So I think we've gone through all of the different 4 loan types. I think we should do a quick little summary sentence for each of these. FHA, it's a great first step for first-time home buyers. It's not only for first-time home buyers, but it is a great way for people that have never purchased a home to become home buyers. Conventional loan is definitely it's ideal for someone that has good credit.
Yeah.
And definitely perhaps for an investor. But then if we get into investment, we have the DSCR loan. Yeah. DSCR loan is a great program for that investor. Someone who has the money to put up front. And again, they have the flexibility of not having to demonstrate job or income verification. So that's definitely a plus. And then last but not least, we have the reverse mortgage. This is great for a retired person, a senior citizen who is in need of some cash flow.
And is equity rich.
So I think you need to ask yourself, which one of these programs.
And there's more. There's many more programs.
There's more. This is just the most common one.
Yeah.
Yes, this is only what you see every day out there.
Yeah. So these are the four mortgage programs, the four most common. If you'd like to learn about other programs, please feel free to let us know in the comment box down below. Thank you to Century 21 Gerard Realty and Lion Plumbing, our two sponsors, and thank you to my two co-hosts today for being wonderful as always. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms. We have Spotify, correct? We are on YouTube. We are present on Instagram. We're present on Facebook. Anything else that I'm missing?
Yeah.
All platforms.
TikTok, Apple Podcasts.
TikTok. So just make sure to type at The Real Talk Miami and be sure to follow, subscribe, and stay tuned for more. Thank you guys.
Thank you. We definitely need